I feel like I say this in every single video, but it's so hot today, I might actually die. Hello everyone, it's Nina, and today I'm here to talk about Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. So, Stalking Jack the Ripper is a YA historical fiction, and in this book we follow Audrey Rose, who is a 17-year-old girl. She lives in London, she's the daughter of a lord, but instead of doing the typical, lady activities, Audrey Rose actually has a great fascination for forensic medicine, and so she's apprenticed under her uncle, which is a doctor and a professor, and, studies the subject. And while, dissecting cadavers and pulling out organs and everything, Audrey Rose gets tangled into the investigations about the case of Jack the Ripper. So this review is going to follow the usual format in which I'll give you my non-spoilery thoughts first, and then we'll move on to the spoilers. So this is a really well-known book in the YA community. I think it came out in 2017, maybe 2016. And I had heard a lot of great things about this book, so I went in with high expectations, but unfortunately, I didn't end up loving it the way I wanted to. I gave this book 3 stars. I did enjoy it, but like I said, I didn't love it, and thus the 3 stars. So I personally thought that the first part of this book was kind of boring and way too slow-paced for me. And I usually like slower-paced books, but I felt like this could have used a little bit more action or a little bit more intrigue or a little bit more drama in the beginning. I thought that in the first part, Audrey Rose was really annoying as well, but then she kind of grew on me. And I thought the romance was kind of insta-lovey at first, but then I was okay with it. I'm not very attached to any of the characters, and maybe that's why I didn't love this book so much, because I really love character-driven stories. But a really interesting thing about this book is that it has like some photos and some illustrations throughout that date back to the 19th century when the story takes place. So we get a lot of pictures and drawings from Victorian era, and that's something that made me really interested in this book. Ever since I watched From Hell, the movie, like a few years ago, I became really interested in the story of Jack the Ripper and kind of like the mystery of who he really was and what were his motives, why was he killing all those prostitutes. So I was really interested in the story because of the setting, and I really wanted to love it, but I ended up not loving it. I will still pick up the second book, which is Hunting Prince Dracula, because again, the setting really interests me. I want to see if it will get better. Overall, I think this was a good debut novel. It's Kerri Maniscalco's first book, so I definitely will continue on with this series and at least read the second book. Okay, so for the spoilery part, like I said before, I thought the beginning of the book was boring, like nothing was really happening, and one thing that really annoyed me was how every few paragraphs Audrey Rose would be like, "I'm such a special snowflake. Look at how I don't act like other ladies. I am fierce and brave and intelligent, and I like dissecting organs." I think it's really cool to see a female character in this era challenging society norms and just being whoever the fuck she wants. But she didn't have to say that every other paragraph. I wished she would have showed that more than just said it. And she did show it. Like, throughout the novel, she's constantly involved with the investigation of the crimes. She sees a lot of dead people and dead bodies, and she dissects them, she deals with organs. But in the first part of the book, she talks about it all the time, and it's like, girl, we get it, you're a special snowflake, but you don't have to, boast about it all the time. And honestly, I thought Thomas was also freaking annoying in the beginning of this book. I was like, he's just rude, he's simply rude. So I don't see why Audrey Rose would like him, because he's just annoying and rude and flirty, kind of, but still rude, unnecessarily so. So I was really annoyed by him and kind of annoyed by the romance, because at the same time that Audrey Rose claimed that she didn't go crazy over a boy with good looks, every time she mentioned Thomas, she would be like, "Oh, he's insufferable, he's arrogant, and I hate him, but he's handsome and he makes my heart flutter." Like, really? You're telling me that his good looks did nothing to you? That's bullshit. I remember I read this really quickly. I read it in 2 days because it's not a long book, as you can see. It's one of those gorgeously floppy paperbacks that just keep open if you prop them somewhere. And I remember that at the very beginning, Audrey Rose talks about this darkness coming into her uncle's eyes. And I was like, bitch, he's the killer. So as we know, those who have read the book, he ends up not being the killer. And I was kind of surprised by that plot twist of Nathaniel, Audrey Rose's brother, being Jack the Ripper, and I was kind of sad because I liked him and I didn't want him to end up being the killer after all. But going back to Audrey Rose, something that really bothered me as well was that sometimes she would contradict herself. Like, one minute she didn't trust that officer, what's his name? Blackburn. One minute she said like, oh, I don't trust him. And then the next moment she was like, if you take one look at his boyish face, you would trust him. And then she was like, oh, but I don't trust him. And then she was like, I don't trust him anymore. So that means she did trust him before. I don't know. I just thought it was contradictory, and Audrey Rose did annoy me a lot of the times. But by the end of the book, I grew to kind of like her. The second part of this book was considerably better than the first one, in my opinion. It just had a lot more going on and more suspicion and more action, and then Jack the Ripper actually started, you know, sending the letters, and I just thought it was much more interesting than the first part. However, the ending did leave me a bit confused because I thought that some of the reactions of the characters weren't really normal, or I don't know. I just thought it was really weird when Audrey Rose's father comes down to the basement and he sees all of the shit that Nathaniel has done, and he's super calm and he's like, Nathaniel, please let go of your sister, and bossing him around, and the dude is literally mad, and her father's just like, nah, I'm chill, you know. I thought he would actually lose his mind since he's already kind of portrayed as crazy in this novel. But I got a bit confused. I don't know if this reaction was because his craziness was mostly due to the opium, or if he was still on opium at the end of the book and that's why he reacted in this kind of cool, detached way. I don't know. I just thought it was very weird. And also when Thomas got there and he like offered Nathaniel a chance to redeem himself, I thought that was interesting at first because that's not something I often see in books, at least not in the ones that I read, when a hero comes in and turns to the villain and says, hey, I know you're mad and you killed a bunch of people and you probably destroyed something or whatever, but I am giving you a chance to escape before the police finds you so you can, you know, start fresh. And as much as I thought that was interesting, I also thought that was wrong. I mean, Nathaniel was freaking going crazy, and I kind of didn't buy his craziness. I just thought it was too sudden for him to start killing these women only a few months back, and it was so sudden, so I didn't really love the ending and who turned out to be the killer. I do understand kind of his motives. He wanted to bring his mother back, okay, but I just wish it had been someone else, and not just because I liked Nathaniel, because I wanted someone with, I don't know, maybe a bit more character building, character development when it comes to the killing and the motives. I don't know, I just felt a bit unsatisfied. It just didn't please me very much. Overall, I did warm up to the romance a little bit more in the second part. I think it would have been really insta-lovey if they immediately got together in the first part, because honestly, Audrey Rose was just attracted to Thomas in the beginning because he was handsome, but then as the book progressed and we got to see more of them interacting with each other, I think the romance was justified. And I'm actually pretty curious to see where this will go. I think the setting is definitely the most interesting thing about the book. Like I said before, the pictures and the drawing were really, really cool. I did not know that they were included in the book. And it really made the book a bit creepier, which I thought was really cool. I love creepy reads. I don't have enough in my life, so that was a really great addition to the book. And lastly, I also really enjoyed the fact that Kerri Maniscalco included an author's note explaining all the historical differences and the artistic liberties that she took to better suit her characters and her story. This was really interesting just to see her come out and say, hey, I know that some things are not historically accurate, but here's why I did it, because of this. This isn't correct, but it's because of this and this and this, and this isn't that way, so I did this and this and this. And we don't have a lot of background story on this character, so I took the liberty to imagine it. I thought it was really cool and just adds something special to the care and research that the author puts into a book. Overall, I did enjoy this book. Didn't love it, unfortunately. I will continue on with the series, and let's see where the story will go. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!